what we will talk today and the way I structured this session is on workforce modernization, which should not be confused for work from home. Okay? They are intertwined, and we'll discuss and talk about that a bit. Okay? That how work from home is enabled by workforce modernization and not the other way around. Okay? So, I'll just, last evening I had a very interesting dinner with one of the tech leaders who I coach and I advise. And, they have built, they started off as a startup, then they became a unicorn, and today they are a very large company, in the space of HR tech. And very interestingly, what I learned from that person is when he said that, Yash, I remember when we started off 8 years ago, you said that for an Indian company to go global, the Indian multinationals have to support it. Okay? So I used to give this person an example. SAP, which is or was and is the largest tech company when it comes to enterprise-wide systems. Okay? And they started with system of record. So SAP finance module, then SAP procurement module, then SAP manufacturing and operations module, and then came also the SAP HR module, which is success factors. But SAP did not go global. It was a German company, and it actually started by succeeding with German multinationals first. And the German multinationals are one of the largest multinationals world over after America. We all know that. So whether you're talking about Bayer, whether you're talking about Mercedes, whether you're talking about BMW, and so on and so forth, okay? Automobile, pharmaceutical, largest. And here comes the tech company in Germany, where Germany was not known for tech. Actually, America was leading the way. And they make it work in these, after it is established in these multinational companies, then it goes to all the countries. So if SAP was being used by Mercedes-Benz in Germany, they started using that in US, they started using that even in China, in India, wherever Mercedes-Benz was present. And that's how SAP went global. So when I was mentoring, this group of founders who were very enthusiastic and highly capable people, I said, look, don't get awed by, you want to go multinational. I said, first, make sure that you work with and succeed with large Indian companies that are multinational, and you learn a lot. Then also I am reminded of, yesterday I had a very interesting lunch with the LinkedIn team. So the LinkedIn Asia Pacific leadership team was in Mumbai. They are still in Mumbai. So yesterday they had invited me and a couple of other people for a lunch discussion on what can LinkedIn do more for professionals and businesses. Okay, and I know those people very well and I know LinkedIn very well. And we coined a term at lunch, which actually Deepika from IDFC first started, but then I kind of, completed a sentence. So she said, LinkedIn is like an old friend to all of us, who were at the lunch. So I said, LinkedIn is like an old trusted friend which is growing younger. And that happens with tech. Okay? Now let's talk about workforce modernization. What does workforce modernization mean? Just getting everyone to use Microsoft Teams or making sure that they have the Zoom app on their phones and laptops, is that workforce modernization? Having, access control and everyone has got that badge like this, which we all carry, is that workforce modernization or workplace modernization? Having desks which can come up where employees can stand when they wish and go down when they can sit, Is that workforce modernization or is that workplace modernization? What is it? I'm just asking a few questions. Well, let me tell you my own definition. Use of technology effectively in a standardized way across the organization is workforce modernization, is workplace modernization, both. So there's a distinct difference between workplace modernization and workforce modernization. Okay? So let's talk about workplace modernization first, which is very, very important. Now, I started my career almost about 33, 34 years ago. Okay? I was very young then. I'm young today also. Okay? But when I started my career, I remember I started off in a factory at Pithampur in Indore with Crompton Greaves. When I was to compare those days and today's, I remember when designing a factory or an office, we did not even think about how the floors, the lift, the bathrooms will be accessible by a person with some kind of special need, or what we used to call as disability in those days. There was no wheelchair access in offices, right? In factories. And if someone, from US or Germany or Europe, came and asked that why you don't have a wheelchair access, well, the standard answer used to be, well, we don't get people in our factories who come on a wheelchair, so why build it? That was the thinking. To today, if you don't have that, not only you are being discriminatory, your diversity index and scores are low, and hence your ESG scores will be low. Are you seeing the shift that has happened? Workplace modernization is all about that. It's about being very, very diverse, inclusive. It is about making sure that you create a comfortable workplace. I mean, you don't have to give free food and make people wear red and make them jump up and down on Christmas. That is not workplace modernization. Workplace modernization is about respecting diversity, being inclusive, and being respectful, and making a workplace attractive for people. I remember there's a South African boss I had, Peter Richardson. So he used to say, and at some point of my career, after working in HR, I actually became a plant manager, a manufacturing head of a location in Aurangabad for Colgate-Palmolive. So Peter used to be my boss sitting in Mumbai. He used to come and, he used to coach me a lot. And he used to say, Yash, the shop floor has to be so nice that people should feel like coming and spending 8 hours here. He says 8 hours is a huge percentage of our waking hours. That's what people come and spend in a workplace. He says, just imagine if that place is dingy, if that place is not properly ventilated, if that doesn't have proper light. He says if you don't give them the right amount of breaks, if you don't give them the right refreshment, food, he says, why would they look forward to coming to the workplace? And that stuck with me. So the idea of workplace modernization is built on that. It's employee-centric, not office-centric. There was and two of my colleagues are here, I see them in the audience. So last month, in Lupin, we have this Window on the World session where we invite an expert speaker from outside to speak, to our people. It started off with HR people, but anyone can attend, about what are the latest trends outside. And I invited one of my ex-bosses, Debashish Roy. So Debashish was my boss in Colgate-Palmolive, and he just retired from Colgate. He's come back to India, and he's my neighbor where I live. So I invited him as a speaker. He's a very accomplished person, and I have immense respect for. So Debashish shared a lot of things with us, but a few things that stuck. So he shared a data. There was a research done by Gallup on why senior leaders are forcing or believe that people have to come back and work in office, while as the middle level and lower level employees, office-based employees that we are talking about, believe that they are not required to be in office if they can do that work from home. So there was a proper survey done on this by Gallup, and he shared the data and the results with us. Very surprisingly, the topmost contributing factor was because these senior leaders have very swanky offices. And they feel very comfortable in their swanky office with their support system that they have, which they don't have at home. So a lot of their power comes from that office. And when they don't see people around, they feel that power is going away. It's an insight. While as people at the middle and lower levels in the office do not have a swanky workplace. They have a very comfortable workplace, and they find their home more comfortable than that. This is the reason. And what an insight this is. So this Gallup survey was all about saying what the future of work will look like, and I'll come to that in a bit, but I just wanted to give this as an example to you. That first we need to learn to differentiate in our minds what is workplace modernization and what is workforce modernization. So I've talked a little bit about workplace modernization, okay? Workplace modernization is also about sustainability, okay? If you see now, when an office building is being designed anywhere in the world, the sustainability guys come into play. So they do a proper balance between how much natural light will come in. Because if you build the whole building facade with a glass, you will have a lot of natural light, but it's not sustainable because also it heats up the building. So the air conditioning cost and the carbon footprint you leave because of cooling down the building negates the natural light. So there has to be a proper balance, that there's enough natural light, but there's less cooling effort required by air conditioning. So sustainable design of a workplace, okay? Many workplaces are getting rid of the carpets because they have realized as science has progressed, and we being from the healthcare, carpet and curtains, as they say, is the worst source of infection in any office or house. It accumulates bacteria, if not virus, bacteria. A lot of inhalation-related diseases from children to adults, they happen because of carpets and curtains. Because you cannot clean a carpet every day. You cannot clean a curtain every day. So now you're seeing offices which are carpetless, which are curtainless. It's all about, it's like going to a GMP factory, where a factory is built where you don't have to clean the dust, you have to build a factory in such a way where the dust doesn't enter it. Okay? And that's the Taguchi design, which the Japanese came up with, and that's when they started modernizing the workplaces. Then, way back. I still remember when I was that manufacturing head, for the plant in Aurangabad, I went for a Jews conference in Japan. It's the Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers, where they talk about, all the manufacturing innovation that happens. So I had gone there to learn. Fantastic learning. So, one thing I learned, so we were in the Toyota factory, and they said that, how we have innovated and changed our thinking. They said first, our focus used to be on 5S of housekeeping, how the machine can be cleaned, how the shop floor can be cleaned of dust, of oil, of grease, everything. And he says the entire focus for the first 25 years was on doing cleaning efficiently. They said we shifted our focus towards designing and building factories, machines, where the dust doesn't enter. So there's no question of cleaning. He says we started designing machines where the oil doesn't leak, where the grease is not required, self-greasing machines. So that's the thinking, and that is innovation. Not about, training everyone how to clean the house well. but how to design a house which doesn't get dirty. Now, this is a paradigm shift, and that is what they feel started the Toyota revolution in the Japanese manufacturing techniques. And the same has happened in the office space, but in office space, it is driven by sustainability. Okay? And the second reason it is driven, which Google showed the world, is driven by talent. Google wanted to provide an environment to the people which was more comfortable than their homes. This was their philosophy, plain and simple. So anyone who would enter a Google office would not feel like leaving it, because they used to carry their dog and cat with them. They would get free food. Though their policy was you can eat as much as food here, but you can't carry it home. Okay, there was free air conditioning. You could lounge. You could sleep. You could shower. You could do everything there. So talent and sustainability drove the agenda of workforce modernization in the past decade or so. Going forward, in the next decade, it will still continue to be sustainability, but that will become a threshold which everyone would have crossed. But what will drive it is talent. Talent will drive workplace modernization agenda, will drive the workplace modernization agenda, and will also define the future of work. So what is future of work in this entire thing? If I was to ask you that question, I'll reply that in a minute. But what is future of work? There are a lot of conferences happening around future of work. There are a lot of speakers who come and speak on future of work. But what is future of work? Work is work, right? So what is future of work? For that, you have to look at the history of work. And again, something we learned from Debashish the other day, which is very fresh. You see, if you look at the history of work, it's very important to understand history of work before you start predicting the future of work. So history of work is when we turned into human beings from apes. One thing in the history of work was everyone was working and had to work to survive, which is missing today. Not everyone has to work. Some of them can survive as parasites. But in those early ages, everyone had to work. Then the first working, as they say, of a class that came up was farming. Okay? Because cultivation, crop growing grains, is something. And alongside that, that is how the society started. So there used to be people who used to do farming, and there used to be people who used to do hunting. Okay? So those were the first classified definitions of work. Then, as the society progressed, there was another one. There used to be people who were doing farming, pottery, work. That was the work. And then there were warriors. Because the main thing in those, the main job market was to become a soldier. Because you would get recruited like this, you would get trained, you used to be fed. And once the war is not there, you'd get a long leave. This is the history of work, how it started. But the first modern work that started was with the steam engine. And do you know when the steam engine started, when the factory started on steam engine for yarns, yarn looms, 99% of the workforce was women. You can go back and check in history. 99% of the first industrial revolution working class were women. And you know why? Because by then, women was the only class of the society that was at home. Rest, everyone else was busy in doing work outside their home, like farming, pottery, or fighting a war, or whatever. That's where the segregation of work had happened, that men have to go and do this, and women. And women that were at home were available to go and work in the factories in an industrial unit, and that's where the division of labor happened between men and women. And then rest, as they say, is history. Then the steam engine became a mechanical, motorized. Then the motor came. When the motor came, the factory setups came. Then people started earning more in the industrial so they started giving up farming and pottery and all that. Then machines got developed for farming, pottery and all that. So labor shifted, from there to the factories. If you look at the evolution of work in that way, it will become very easy for you to understand how the future of work will look like. So the work is defined not by what I want to do or by what an entrepreneur wants to do. It is by how the society is evolving, how innovation is happening, how a revolution takes place. Why we call it Industrial Revolution 1 and Industrial Revolution 2? Because the Industrial Revolution 1 was about the steam engine, and the Industrial Revolution 2, which was led by Henry Ford and the conveyor belt, was a motorized revolution, right? Where the motor, the electric motor was. So there's something always at the hinge. What is now pivoting all of us towards work today? It's the digital technology. That is what the steam engine was, what the electric motor was. Now is the digital technologies. Digital technologies have enabled us to work from home. Remember that. Earlier, why could people not work from home? Because there were no digital technologies by which you could collaborate, by which you could communicate, by which you could record your work, by which you could do your work. So it's the digital technologies. Now, a lot of people fear that because of the digital technologies, which includes artificial intelligence, everything, will work go away for people? Well, let me tell you, work will never go away from people. Those will be unemployed who do not develop and build the right skills required for the future of work. So it's all about changing your skills. And it's not a bad news there. The change of skills is not like required overnight. You get time to do it. Like a farmer was not asked overnight to stop farming and come and work in a factory. It happened over years. Same is happening here, but the time period is shortened. The time period has significantly shortened. Now, what are those skills? So, if I was to talk about, assuming that, and I'm sure it is, we are all business and HR folks sitting here. Well, when you talk about what are some of the jobs that have come about, so we keep talking about data. Let me take data as an example, okay? Take data and sit down and think for yourself. You need to do this exercise today if you go home. Trust me, you will thank me for it. And if you want to thank me, actually come to my LinkedIn profile and thank me. I have done this. I have encouraged my people to do it. Think about your work, think about yourself, and think data. And say, okay, so what is data? What is the data revolution today that's happening? What am I doing in my role which will contribute to this revolution? Or what am I not doing in this role which is not contributing? So say, for example, if you are entering certain data, you are contributing. If you are asking for certain data to make some decision, you are contributing, you're adding some value. But it will scare you. You will start realizing that a lot of your skill set, understanding, work that you do has little to do with the data revolution that's happening in the world. Then that will start making you think, so what am I lacking short of? Do I need to build skill? And the first skill you'll realize you want to build, and you'll go to Google and you'll start searching, is what is data management? What is data analytics? Then it will start throwing up a lot of things saying, oh no, it's not just data warehousing and data management and data analytics. There's something known as data visualization. Do you know that? It's something that you can learn and pick up in 2 weeks' time. If you take a structured course, there are 7 online free courses that can teach you what is data visualization. That will put you on a path of acquiring a skill that you did not have till this morning. I'm assuming. Some of you may be experts at data, but do this. So I've just given one example as data. You could pick up another one as artificial intelligence. What is my understanding of artificial intelligence? Everyone is talking about this chat GPT, which is OpenAI, but what is OpenAI and what is closed AI? You see, a curious mind will set you on the path of developing yourself. Let me tell you, no organization, no other person will do this for you that you got to do for yourself. No organization, no person will do it. You know, I have often said this, and this is my own quote. The moment you make someone else responsible for your happiness and your capability, you have started writing your own eulogy. The responsibility of your happiness, which is your mental well-being, your entire purpose of living, and your entire capability set, which involves skill sets that you have, is your responsibility. The moment you start making someone else responsible for it, you are putting more burden on other people. And the moment you start putting burden on other people for your happiness and your capability, they will start pushing you at a distance. They will start pushing you to a distance. You will stop getting along with people and you will go nowhere. So happiness is a big topic. I'll give you one tip at the end of it. But on your capability quotient, do that exercise that I have told you if you are serious about making a career and having a livelihood, if not now, 5 years from now. You're not lucky like that farmer whose second generation had to change the skill set. You will have to change your skill set in 5, 6, 7 years from now onwards, and maybe in the future every 2 years. Who knows? Try it, do it. Okay, that's my this thing. How much time, Diksha, we have? Some questions, right? So let me conclude now talking on that happiness side. What I talked about, which is also not giving, which is very important for creating a good workplace, creating a good workforce, and creating, a good employee. Okay. What is your passion outside of work? Okay, work is work. What is your passion outside of work? Find it. It's like in school, you used to go and as soon as you went, your teacher used to ask you, right, if you were new in the class or new to the school, or if the teacher was new to the class, what is your hobby? And the children used to get, somebody used to say painting, someone would say stamp collection, even if it was not, right? All those hobbies. And hobbies were seen as something that I do apart from studying. Actually, extracurricular is very important in life, right from your growing up, and we are all growing all the time. Because not everyone is good at everything, but when you do extracurricular, all of a sudden you find a passion outside of your main core area of work. And you really realize that I am terrific at this. And you start getting more confidence, you start getting joy. I seriously recommend, think about it. What is your hobby or what is your passion outside of work? For me, it's photography. Okay. It started off as simple, basic photography. I became a wildlife photographer, went to a professional level, and now it's at a different level altogether. That I can stop doing my profession, and if I do my photography full time, probably I'll make more money. It's reached at that level. But it still gives me joy. I still find time for it once a week. So nature and photography is my passion. What's yours? What's yours? And that has to be your me time. We always make time for our colleagues and our work and our company. We always make time for our family, our wife, our children, our parents. how much time do you make for yourself? That me time and having that passion outside of work is what will set you apart from being just a capable person. Try that. With that, I thank you. I hope it made sense. If not, feel free and share your feedback with me. And let's open it up for a few questions if anyone has. Happy to answer, not that I may have all the answers, but happy.
Good morning. Yes, the thought is that what is the future of workforce, workplace, and how the future of work is going to be designed in the industries. Not only in the areas where we are talking about M form of company or the U form of companies. So I came from core manufacturing, I'm from Adani. I designed the workplaces for Adani for each business. So initially we don't have, like if this building I want to construct, so probably by applying that, what is that going to be fit today to that of coming 20 years? So in earlier days that when we structure an organization, we'll go for organization design that's slowly moving out. So org design doesn't sustain in future. So the first point is, for me, the future of work is going to be under three-leg table. One is that how the workplace is designed, then how the work is designed, then how the workforce is aligning to work in the designed environment. These 3 points are the cues for me to define what is the modernization that we are going to achieve with respect to the way organization going to set in, the way organization place going to work in future, the way the workforce who are engaged in that organization going to put their activities hence in future. That was the element. You touch upon a few concepts of it, workplace and workforce, how the work is designed. Take the cues from your past experience and your current Lupin experience. Thank you.
Sure. So let me tell you, and this again, I have refrained from going into the jargon because we do that all the time. We are very proficient in it. Okay. I'll give you an example. So I was with Philips as the head of HR for the Indian subcontinent, and after 2 years in that role, they took me to Amsterdam as the Global Chief Learning and Talent Officer. Okay. So when I landed in Amsterdam, all of us who think we are very intelligent and very capable, I think some of us are. As soon as I went and my first team meeting there, now having worked with Philip for 2 years, I knew what the processes are, what the systems are, what the workforce design is, how the succession planning works, how leadership development works. We were tasked to build a absolute best-in-class virtual Philips University. Everything was happening. Okay, so I knew all that. So my first team meeting, I asked the team that what is it that we need to work on to transform Philips and its culture from talent and learning point of view. I was amazed by the responses I got. And these were, because then it's a very cross-cultural team, so there were very few Indians, but there were a lot of Europeans, there were Americans, there were Japanese, there were Southeast Asian people, all over, Latinos. So everyone at the end of the day concluded it's not about the processes and the technology. It's all about innovation at the workplace. And trust me when I say this, what we talked about this work from home after the pandemic here with so much of rever actually was happening in Europe and Philips when I landed there in 2010. Europe had work from home since 2005. It's a fact of life. So, when I used to go, my team and my boss used to tell me, why do you come to office every day? So I said, excuse me? Because you see that the data point, I had a swanky office, overlooking Amstel Plain, the canals and everything. And I said, they said, yeah, one Friday, one Thursday, Friday, work from home, just relax, you'll be more productive. It started changing my mindset. Because in that same Philips, in India, everyone used to come and work from office, from our DLF city, cyber city office in Gurgaon, and that's it was. So I said, okay. Now I said, if this is already a transformation that I have seen, what further to transform in this place here? They said, we will not talk about designs, processes or technology. That the company is inherently good at. Let's talk about workplace innovation. And then the workplace innovation started. So what happens is, everyone in their life cycle have needs, okay? So a young mother of an infant versus a young mother of a toddler versus a young mother of a growing child have different needs altogether. And same goes for the man, right? But we had taken the example of a young mother. So if a young mother of a growing child has to drop, because in Holland, everyone drops their children to school on their bicycles in the morning. And then after that, they are picked up from the school and they're taken to a kindergarten, which is like a creche, what we call here. They call it a kindergarten there. And then the children eat, sleep, relax there. And then while going back, the parents pick them up again on the bicycles and take them home. That's the culture. So the workplace innovation was all about how can we, not using the word as process or design or anything, think about that person as to when to schedule meetings, how to leverage technology that we have. And in those days, Microsoft Teams was not Microsoft Teams, as you know it. It was an acquired business of Microsoft, which got integrated with it and became MS Teams, right? So there used to be Yammer, okay, and then there used to be various, Yammer was our, in Philips, that was in 2008, 2010, that was our own internal Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever you may call. How, and there you could do the same file transfer, you could do everything, on that. And then Salesforce bought Yammer and made it like what Microsoft has made out of Teams. So if I am a leader, I was sensitized that when I call for a meeting, I have to be sure that my meeting cannot be more than 1.5 hours. These are the core hours. But during this time, I have to be cognizant that Joyce is dropping her son to school. And I have to be cognizant that at this time, Joyce is picking up her son from the school. So a system was designed by which personal needs and working hours of the people were mapped and available to every leader. Now that is innovation. And that used to help me schedule meetings and still be fine if someone was joining remotely and if someone couldn't join. How beautiful is that? There used to be posters educating people that, look, when you used to enter the Philips office in Amsterdam, there used to be posters. Hope you don't get so busy at work that you forget to pick up your children or attend to your aging parents in the day-to-day. That was workplace innovation. So, to answer your question, the work is already designed. The incremental changes that keep happening to it, like what is the design of work? Design of work is we all have job descriptions, we all know what is to be delivered, there's a supervisory management structure, we are managed by objectives, there are reviews and all that happens, right? Further trying to tweak that design will only give you incremental this thing. There has to be absolute, transformational innovation in which you can still get that work done, more work done, better work done by respecting the needs of the employees. So I would rather say, instead of You know, and this is like, we were at, just 3 months ago, Vikram Tandon was there with me. He's a very good friend of mine. He's the global CHRO of Adani, Vikram. The McKinsey, the global CHRO of McKinsey was here, and we were talking. Do you know, McKinsey themselves are innovating their workplace? And the first innovation they started off was, because McKinsey used to only hire people from Harvard, Wharton, Kellogg in the US, or IIM Ahmedabad and IITs in India. It's a fact. If you didn't have that, you were not even considered for McKinsey, right? They realized that it's not about pedigree, it's about potential. Now that is the fundamental innovation and shift that is required in the thinking when you're designing the workplace for the future. It begins with talent, that's why I said. Don't get lost in my 2 cents worth, and don't dismiss it. What you said is important. But don't get lost in sitting down and designing the jobs and the designing work and all that. No, it'll make you very tactical. You have to think very innovatively in terms of doing things which you have not done in the organization, where the innovation needs to happen at the cultural front, at the thinking front of the leaders, and that will then start percolating at the work level. So from pedigree to potential is what McKinsey has made a shift. They're saying we will look at the potential of the people and hire. When they apply, we will look at an established track record of success of those people and hire. We will not even look at their degrees. Huge shift. So these are my 2 cents worth, you know. I could do a 1-day workshop on, you know, workforce design and all of that, because all we have done for the past 25 years is that. But the time to think and be innovative and different is very, very different right now. Hence, I'm not even touching and going down that road. And I'm trying to put you on a road which is less traveled right now. Yeah, but thank you for the question. Very nice.
This is really a comment. I led Future Ready for Accenture, and as an organization, there was a full-fledged department which got in touch with other departments. And what it did is it looked at what kind of a workplace are you going to have? Are you going to have robots coming in? And Accenture does have robots coming to welcome you, right? We looked at processes, because what you're doing today is going to change tomorrow. So what kind of processes? And that meant interacting with all your stakeholders across to change the processes that you have currently. Then we looked at what kind of work design are you going to have? I mean, is it going to be a structure like this? Is it going to be different? What kind of people are coming in? It's just buttons everywhere, really, as we move forward. And if you look at the Bangalore office, it's designed like that. And then we looked at what kind of people are going to come in. I mean, is it you and me, or is it going to be a different kind of person coming? And then we looked at technology. So there were broad 5 parameters, and there were full-fledged departments which worked behind the scenes. And like you said, work from home, that was a concept which was there way back, right? So yes, I think there are organizations which are futuristic and which are thinking, and that's really what we need to do today.
Totally agree with you. And you know, if I was to talk about my current company, Lupin, or for that matter, any of our competitors, and you see, like an Accenture or a HCL or a Wipro or Infosys, where the work is very different compared to the work that happens. Do you know, in companies like Lupin, Sun, you know, these 2 that I've worked with, or J&J, or 90% of our workforce has to go to work because they have to work in a factory or a lab, or they have to go and meet a doctor in the field. They can't work from home. 90% of our workforce has to go to work at a site, at a place. They don't even go to office. It's only less than 8% of our employees which sit in an office. So you see, the challenge for us to design or think about work in an office is far less complex than thinking about how to manage a field force of 12,000 people that is out in the field every day, talking to doctors, how they work. And there the digital transformation has really driven, you know, their safety is very important. Same is about the factory, same is about the laboratory, same is about the clinical trial labs. It's very different. So exactly what she said, the challenge for, say, tech-based companies where 90, 80. So one of this Saurabh Govil from Wipro had come on he's a very close friend, so I'd invited him. He said the same thing. He said, Yash, it's a good question you ask, and he quoted. He said that I told my leadership team, he said, look, they wanted everyone in Wipro back at work. Their leadership wanted everyone Wipro back at work. He says, I did an analysis of my organization and I told them that, look, we are already almost at a 28% attrition. You wanted to go to 40%, bring everybody back to work. He says, the moment I visualized and presented that data to them, their thinking changed. Because people were still trying to come back to an old paradigm. It's lack of trust. If I don't see you, I don't believe you, right? And he says, after that we made a decision, like any other tech company, they're also hybrid, where the senior leaders come in, majority of them work from home for certain days or periods. They've figured it out. And it's all happening. It's all happening. So the reason I gave that is we all have these structures, departments, but unless you drive that change in the thinking of the leaders, a lot of these department processes and all that you have will be less impactful unless the leadership mindset is changed. It becomes employee-centric, it becomes client-centric. Because a client is not bothered whether your person comes to the office or is working from home, as long as the client's job is getting serviced. Not just in tech, but even in other areas. Right? But the industry is very different. What fits one will not fit the other. The nature of work is very different. But what I talked about, the workplace modernization versus workforce modernization, it's what is critical is thinking. Thinking is extremely critical to that. And you need to transform and shift that. Okay, with that I think we end, because I'm actually on time now and I also have to rush, but thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.